Hi all, North Star Crochet back to finish off the tote bag and the different stitches. So we've done the front panel of your tote bag, which was 4 granny squares joined together using the whip stitch. We should have done the back panel of your tote bag, which was 4 granny squares joined together by the invisible mattress stitch. Now what we're going to do is join the 6 side pieces that go around the side of the bag. So we've got 6 panels that we're going to sort of put together in like a scarf. So we're going to do vertical, 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 vertical. So we've got 6 long, like a long oblong made up of 6 little granny squares. Okay, so we're going to do 2 at a time. So I'm going to start off with these 2. I'm going to show you this way and I'm going to put it together horizontally and then we'll add more as we go along. So we're going to be using the flat slip stitch, which is a crochet stitch. So you'll need your crochet hook. So those people that don't like darning, don't like sewing, this is an alternative way to join them by using your crochet hook. So we're going to take our 2 squares. We're going to take either the same coloured yarn if you want it to blend in, or you can use a contrasting yarn to make it stand out and make it a bit more decorative. It does sit flat, so it easily blends in, but if you do use a contrasting colour, it just adds a little bit of decoration to the bag, if you will. I'm going to use a different colour just so you can see it. So we're going to start off by putting a slip knot on your yarn, but don't put it on your hook yet. Okay, I'm going to get a little bit closer in a moment so we can have a look at what I'm doing, but we are going to start off in the corners again like we did before, where you've got your 2 chain. We are going to start off in the 2 chains there. If you're going from, if you're right-handed, you're going from the right-hand corner. If you're left-handed, then you go in from your left-hand corner. We are just using the back loops only on this particular stitch. It's always going to be the back loops only, because what happens is when you go into the back loop, that front loop stands prominent. So when you make your stitch, the stitch is going to sit between the raised front loops, and that's why it comes out flat, because it sits in between the 2 front stitches of each granny square. Okay, so let's get closer and let's get started. Okay, so we've moved a little bit closer now. So on this first one, you've got your 2 chains. One belongs to the top and one belongs to the side. For this particular stitch, just to make the edge a bit more prominent, I am going to use both of those chains. However, you can just use the first chain and lock it in. But I'm going to use the first chain as well. So we're going to go into that very first chain, that's the side. That's the front loop. That's the back loop. So you're going to go into the back loop of that chain stitch. And then you're going to find the corresponding one on the other side, on your other granny square. So in your corner, you've got your first chain there, that's your front loop, that's your back loop, your side chain, and you're going to go into the back loop. You're always going to go in from the top to the bottom. Okay, so now you've got 2 loops on your hook. You're then going to put your slip knot on, pull that tight, and you're going to pull it through those 2 loops. Like so, and you've joined them together. Okay, this working yarn is always going to be in the middle underneath your granny squares, and you're always going to have the hook on top. The hook will go in from the top to the bottom, and it will pick up the working yarn from underneath and pull it through to the top. That's how we work in that one. So always have that working yarn underneath in the middle. Now the best way to get the neatest slip stitch is to work alternate top and bottom, but it can get a bit confusing as to where you're up to. So first of all, I'm going to show you by going into the bottom granny square all the time first. So our next stitch is going to be the top chain stitch in the corner, and we're going to go into the back loop only of that chain stitch and get through, and that's from the bottom granny square. We're then going to take the top granny square and we're going to go into that back loop only of the other chain stitch. We've got 3 loops on our hook now. We're then going to yarn over and pull through all 3. And what I tend to find is that first loop belongs to the top granny square. So I tend to turn my head towards the top granny square and pull it through, because then you're pulling it through the teardrop. And then the bottom granny square is the next loop. So I'm going to turn my head down towards the bottom granny square and pull it through, and then we're just going to pull it through that last loop on the hook as well. Okay, so again we're going to go into the bottom granny square first all the time. So we're going to find the next stitch and we're going to go not the front loop but the back loop only. So go into the back loop only, get your top granny square, find your next stitch, and we're going to go into the back loop only. So we've now got 3 loops on our hook. We're going to find that working yarn that's underneath. We're going to yarn over and then we're going to pull it through the first stitch, pull it through the second stitch, and then pull it through the last stitch. Sorry, loop on the hook rather. Third stitch, we're going to go into the next stitch from the bottom granny square, back loop only, find your top granny square, the next stitch, back loop only. You've got 3 loops on your hook. You're finding your working yarn underneath, you're yarning over, and again, because that first loop belongs to the top granny square, we're going to turn our head of the hook upwards, pull it through that first loop. Now the second loop belongs to the bottom granny square, so we're going to put our head towards the bottom granny square, pull it through that loop, and then pull it through the loop that's on the hook. And we're going to continue that all the way down, just going into each of the back loops, yarning over and pulling through all 3 loops that's on the hook, and that forms your slip stitch. Back loop, yarn over and pull through all 3 loops on your hook. Okay, and there you will find that's your stitch pattern there. Now if I pull that up a little bit, because we've been going into the bottom loop first, you'll find that that's quite a neat tight space there. If you were to pull it apart, see how the stitches pull away a little bit from the top granny square, but it remains tight on the bottom. Okay, that's the only problem that you get if you're going into the bottom granny square first all the time and then the top. The way to alleviate that and make it a little bit neater is to alternate. So we went in the bottom first last time, so now we're going to go into the top granny square first this time. So go into the top granny square, back loop only, then get to the bottom, next stitch, back loop only, and then you're gonna, if I can show you, yarn over, pull through, and pull through. So we went into the top first last time, so now we're going to go into the bottom first this time and alternate. So go into the bottom granny square, back loop only, the top granny square, back loop only of the next stitch, and then we're going to yarn over, pull through, and pull through the last one. Now if you get lost as to which one you went into first, if you have a look at the side, you can see that loop there was the last one that you went, well, that loop there you went into, that loop there that you went into. See which loop's on the bottom. Now the bottom loop is the one from the top granny square, so that's the one that you want to go into first next time. So whichever one's on the bottom, you're going to go into that granny square first. So the top granny square loop is on the bottom, so we're going to go into that one first. Top, and then bottom. Then you've got 3 loops on your hook. You're going to yarn over, pull through all 3. And then if you look at the side now, you see that the loop that's on the bottom is actually belongs to the bottom granny square, so we're going to go into the bottom first. So bottom, back loop, top, back loop. Got 3 loops on your hook. You're going to yarn over, pull through all 3. And again, if you look at it from the side, you can see that the bottom loop that you went through belongs to the top granny square. So we're going to go through the top first this time. Top, back loop, bottom, back loop. Got 3 loops on your hook. Then going to yarn over and you're going to pull through all 3. And what tends to happen with that is when you pull it, you see that end is pulling, but the ones where you've done alternate doesn't pull as much. It makes it a bit more stable. So it's kind of a little bit neater if you do it alternate. Doesn't matter if you don't though, just whichever's easiest and works for you. Okay, so we're going to continue back down. So we're going to do the bottom first, then the top. We've got 3 loops on our hook. We're going to yarn over and pull through all 3 loops on the hook. There we go. And we're going to do the top first, then the bottom. We've got 3 loops on our hook. Going to yarn over and pull through all 3. And then we're going to do the bottom first. So the bottom back loop, top back loop. We've got 3 loops on our hook. We're going to yarn over and we're going to pull through all 3. Right, now we're on to the corner chains. So on our first corner chain, we're going to go into the back loop only, and we're going to start off on the top because we went into the bottom last time. So it's the back loop only of your first chain, the back loop only of the bottom chain. You've got 3 loops on there. You're going to yarn over and pull through all 3, and then I'll probably do the side chain as well. You don't have to, but just to get it a bit wider, I'll do the side chain. So bottom, top, 3 chains on there, yarn over, 3 loops on there, sorry, yarn over and pull through all 3. Okay. And then what you're going to do, you're just going to simply chop the end off, pull it through, and you're fastening it off. So you're just going to weave in the ends now. So you've got 2 ends there and there. just to weave in at the back. And that will be your join. And then you're going to join your next one there the same way, and then move down, join your next one until you've got 6 granny squares joined together. And once that's happened, I will meet you back and we'll see how we can join all the pieces together using the single crochet join and make your tote bag. Oh, before we go on to that though, I just wanted to show you a little extra stitch, a little bonus stitch, which is the zigzag flat stitch, the zigzag slip stitch. So it's going to be similar to that, but it's a bit more decorative. So again, we're going to get your slip knot, but don't put it on your hook yet. I'm just going to go into the first chain this time just to show you. So we're going to go into the bottom stitch, and we're going to go in, the back stitch and the back stitch of the other one, and we're just going to pull that slip knot through, slip stitch through, just to join them. Okay, so they're joined together now. The working yarn is still going to be in the middle underneath. You're still going to go, the hook's going to be on the top. You're still going to go from the top through to the bottom and pull up the yarn from the bottom. But instead of going through the bottom granny square, then the top and pulling it through, we're going to go through the bottom, pull it through and slip stitch, then go through the top, pull it through and slip stitch. So we're only using one stitch at a time. So before, where we went through the bottom granny square and then we picked up another loop from the top and we had 3 loops on, we're just going to do single ones. So we're going to go through the bottom first and not anything else, and then we're going to do a slip stitch. So we're going to yarn over and pull through the 2 loops that are on the hook. Okay, now we did the bottom, so we're going to do the top next. So we're just going to do the back loop again of the top. We've got 2 loops on our hook. We're then going to yarn over and just simply pull through those 2. We're then going to go back to the bottom, go in the back loop only of the bottom, and then yarn over and pull through both those 2 loops on the hook. We're going to go back up to the top, going to go in the back loop only of the top, so that back loop only. We've got 2 loops on the hook. We're going to yarn over and we're going to pull through those 2 loops on the hook, and then again down to the bottom. So it's kind of a little less fiddly in a way. So down to the bottom, pull through both loops on the hook, and then we're going up to the top, finding the next stitch, going in the back loop only. You've got 2 loops on your hook. You're going to yarn over, you're going to pull through both those 2 loops that are on your hook. I'll do one more. So we're going to go down to the bottom granny square, go through the back loop only of the next stitch. You've got 2 loops on your hook. You're going to yarn over and you're going to pull through both those 2 loops on your hook. And the effect that has is that it tends to be in a more zigzaggy pattern. So although it does lie flattish, it might just be a little bit more bulky, but it is quite a flat stitch. But it's just a bit more zigzaggy, a bit more detailed than just your flat slip stitch. So it just depends on what kind of decoration you want on your blanket, your bag, your cardigan, whatever garment you're making or product you're making to join the granny squares. So that's your zigzag stitch. Right, now we'll crack on and show you how to compile the bag together.